Yeah, fellow countrymen and women and fellow co-guides. My name is Senator Dino Melaye. I'm here to address you once again in the course of our state history. I repeat that what happened in Kogi State is mere allocation of votes and not election. And I'm here this afternoon to further prove that there was no election in Kogi State, that the APC rigged the election in Kogi State, and all candidates were allotted or allocated votes. To start with, I got the certified true copy of the 2023 elections in February this year. This is the result of the Presidential and National Assembly elections, and certified true copy from INEC. And I also have the certified true copy of the elections on November 11th, where I participated as a candidate of the People's Democratic Party. So this is the certified true copy of the elections on the 11th of November. Certified true copy from INEC. Yeah, you can see that. I'm going to be showing you a comparative analysis of these two certified true copies of results from INEC. Before I go into that, everyone will recall that voters registration ended in November 2022. Voters registration ended November 2022. So as at February 2023, when the presidential elections took place, the number of registered voters in Adavi local government stood at 114,046, according to this certified true copy. According to the certified true copy, this certified true copy of INEC, it said that in February, voters registration in Adavi local government is at 114,446. But in the governorship election, 2023, November 11th, voters registration rose to 114,663. So there was the voters registration was inflated. And remember that I said voters registration ended officially announced by INEC in November 2022. And the presidential election took place in February 2023. And by this certified true copy of document given to me by INEC, Adavi local government have 114,046. But by the same document, in the just concluded November election, registration of voters rose without a registration to 114,665. If you go again to Ajakuta local government, as at February this year, it was 84,674. By the document I just got from INEC now, it rose to 96,504. In Okene local government, it was 140,000 in February, 452. And in the recent election, it rose to 151,243. An inflation of 110,987. And remember that voters registration ended in November last year, and in February this year during the presidential election, the voters registration by this certified true copy of INEC document that I have in Okene local government is 141,452, but it was inflated in the February election, even when there was no voters registration, to 151,243. I mean, that's an inflation of over 110,987 in Okene local government alone. It was also inflated in Ogori Magongo local government. It was inflated in Igalamela Odolu local government. It was inflated in Ida local government. It was inflated in Omala local government. It was inflated in Kababunu local government. It was inflated in Lokoja local government. It was inflated in Yagba West local government. And so, I mean, you can say I've actually done a table of the disparity between what the voters registration was in February and what it is in this November 11 election. So the comparative analysis shows that there's inflation of voters register in about 17 local governments, showing how they rigged the elections because voters registration stopped in November 2022. So why is there disparity between the February election and the November election when no voters registration took place? We are all participants. Anytime there's voters registration, we normally get involved as a party, as an individual, because we mobilize our communities to come out and participate in continuous voters registration. But since February last year, since November last year, there's been no voters registration. So no one took place. So then why the inflation of the figures? Because they noticed that the figures that have been produced by APC and Yaya Bello is far above voters registration. So it has to be inflated on the surface of the results of the November election, while that of February carried a different voters registration number, local government per local government. So this is a fraud. This is not acceptable and should be completely discarded. But unfortunately, as Dino Melaye, I have lost complete faith in the judiciary. The judiciary to me is just like a parastatal of the APC. From judgments that have been given, from the judgment given in the presidential election, we all know that the judiciary is no longer the last hope of the masses. It is now the last hope of not even the highest bidder. It is now a parastatal or agency or department of the APC. So I'm not going to waste our emotions. I'm not going to waste our time. I'm not going to waste our resources by going to court, because we will not get justice in the courts. The courts have become an appendage of the APC. But one thing I want to assure is that there's a God factor in the affairs of men. There's a higher court where the Lord Almighty reigns supreme, and his judgment cannot be contended. His judgment cannot be argued. His judgment cannot be fought, cannot be debated. And that judgment will come very soon. In the light of the foregoing, I have no confidence in the Nigerian judiciary. I have no confidence in the Nigerian court. I will not go to court because it is not necessary. It will be time wasting. It will be money wasting. It will further jeopardize and destroy the hopes of Nigerians in a system that never works. But we hope we will continue the battle to salvage our country from these economic cankerworms and financial scavengers from the APC. It's a battle of no retreat, no surrender. We'll continue to fight. We'll continue to speak. We'll continue to talk to our people to make sure that by the grace of God, we will come out of these woods. We will come out of these destructive tendencies of the APC. We will not give up. We will continue to fight. A luta continua, Victoria Asata.
Absolutely. And so, time for us to go into the opposition in Nigeria. We have had some opposition political parties right from independence playing strong roles. We saw the Action Group in the 60s, perhaps doing it and trying to show the ruling party how best to run a government with what they did in the Western region. What are your perspectives about Nigeria's democracy and the role of opposition in it?
Well, thank you very much. The progress that a nation makes, it is not because of the good of the ruling party. It is because of the vigilance of the opposition. Nigeria, in every system of government, operates adversarial system, whether in law, whether in politics. And it's because of the belief that there is an inherent progress made when a thesis meets antithesis. then they bring out synthesis. When something jams the opposite, they bring out a new thing. When a man meets a woman, they bring out a child. They may be 90 years old, but when they give birth to a child, the child will become a new baby. So whenever opposition is not virile in any system, that system will most likely derail. You know, Montesquieu said one thing that is very, very instructive. He said, anybody invested with power is apt to abuse it and carry his authority as far as he can go. He said, virtue, mark his word, virtue has to even have a limit. So
as good as it is.
As good and as beautiful as it is. And the only thing that curtails the excesses of the ruling power in a democracy is the opposition. The people have entrusted their own fortune, their own sovereignty in the government, which is made up of the ruling party and the opposition. And they expect these two people to do different things. So they are not expecting the opposition to give them the dividends. They are expecting the opposition at least to say, because you have your say. So whenever the opposition is not pointing out the things that are bad or ways to make things better, they have failed. And democracy will be at risk. In this country, you and I know that we are now in an era of a battered, bruised, bankrupted, and, if I may use their own words, dead economy. I am not the one who said this. APC,
Who are you quoting?
APC. I'm quoting APC. President Bola Tinubu came in and said, I inherited a rotten financial system. And he made everybody to know what he's doing by taking the central bank governor of APC and putting him in jail without trial for hundreds of days. His national security advisor came on air and said, APC bequeathed to us a bankrupted economy. And you know, the IG of police, when he went to the National Assembly, he said APC bequeathed to him a battered police force.
Is it the government of the last 8 years or APC or?
What do you call it? It's the ruling party. There is no independent candidacy in this country. You can only enter into governorship by a party. A party ought to have a manifesto and have the commensurate discipline to bring its elected officers to implement their manifesto.
You know, we run a presidential system of government.
Yes.
And in this presidential system, the president, the symbol of the whole nation, appear to, even in the US, I've seen the president move away from positions taken by the party, from state institutions. So is it that it's peculiar to a presidential system where the president goes his own way because he's the man to be held responsible and not driving a party manifesto or party program?
I respectfully disagree with you because I know as a matter of fact that Thabo Mbeki was withdrawn from office by his party, not by the parliament. That is because they have party discipline. He came by the party, and the party should be supreme, not the president. Then when you go to America, they hold you responsible by the promise you made to the people, not by the promise your party made to the people, because that is their system there. So when you come to Nigeria, nobody holds you accountable for anything. And accountability is one of the pillars that sustain democracy. Transparency, accountability, and all whatnot. Let me tell you the truth. When I joined politics, it was for one aim: to make Nigeria a superpower nation. And it is very possible within a very short time. Why? A superpower nation stands on a tripod: political stability, economic viability, and a strong military force. Through my learning experience and observation, I have known that these are the three things that ought to be in place. Nigeria has, in a potential manner, the things that will give us this. If we have a good leader within just a decade, look at our solid minerals wasting away. Countries from around the world coming into Nigeria, using it to enrich their own people. Bandits and terrorists. You have your gold, you have your lithium, you have your bitumen, and then you have oil flowing like water. And you know what? A young man from Niger Delta will use a cup to scoop the oil that is even destroying his environment and to cook it, and he will go and snatch it from him and burn it.
That's the illegal refinery?
Good. That is what you call it. Now, you, the government, will go and bring a ship and collect that same oil and pay the ship to take the oil to America, to Europe, and refine the oil there. And you pay the ship to bring it back to Nigeria. And you start selling it as refined crude. And you have been doing that for 30 years. It is impossible to have economic viability with such incompetent and dishonest leaders, where you cannot even make an improvement on your own product.
Okay, you talked about vigilance of the citizens.
Absolutely.
Vigilance of the political parties, especially the opposition political parties.
I was coming to it, because it comes under political stability. Political stability can only be guaranteed in a country that has free, fair, credible, and verifiable election. It is not corruption that brings democracy down. Democracy has not promised you that from time to time corrupt leaders cannot wangle their way in, because there are men who knows how to deceive people. What democracy promises you is that in such a situation, you will have an opportunity to vote them out. So whenever you can no longer have the opportunity to vote out corrupt leaders, that is when democracy is threatened. Meaning democracy can never fail, but democratization is what fails.
So the process is
more
important.
The process has always been more important than the result. So democratization is that process that brings about democratic rule. As long as that process is not tampered with, democracy does not fail. Because the sovereignty of the people, if a people vote somebody, they'll be willing to take whatever comes, because they will say, it's our fault. Let's just wait for him in the next 4 years. So the duty of the opposition is to ensure first and foremost that democratization does not fail. That is why, for instance, I am of the opinion that the opposition so far has failed, and failed woefully in Nigeria.
Since when has this failure started? Is it of recent?
From May 29, 2023. And I'm talking about, of course, you know it has failed from 1999. I'm just talking about as in this regime. Good. Why am I saying so? A president in his inaugural speech committed an abuse of power, committed a desecration of rule of law.
What do you mean by that?
Fuel subsidy is gone.
That's a policy pronouncement.
No.
It falls within the powers of the president. No. You may quarrel with the process, but he has the power to take executive decisions.
The president has no power to appropriate any money to any issue in Nigeria. And once appropriated, he has no power to go against it. There is already a law, PIA, that said subsidy cannot go until the end of June. It is a law. The job of the president is to execute, to administer and implement the laws.
So what should have been the reaction of the opposition?
The opposition should have immediately screamed. This is not a dictatorship. You are not elected to impose your will. There is a law already existing. You cannot even mention it.
No, that thing didn't come up from the opposition. Not as much as...
At all. At all. They were busy struggling for posts in the National Assembly. Struggling. And then this same person came out and chose leaders for you. And none of them could scream. Today, the National Assembly is a photocopy of the executive. We used to say that Senator Lawan is a rubber stamp. But now we have a photocopy.
What's the difference between the two?
Rubber stamp is that I can stamp my authority on you. Photocopy is that you are me. Existing in another form.
The argument, the counter is that
Yes.
There has to be a nation before there's a political party.
Yes.
There's a national interest that supersedes and overrides individual and party interests. And when it is of national interest, you keep down party affiliations and go for the national interest.
Good. The first national interest that should be upheld is that the opposition should take on the executive. Where they are doing good, the opposition will say, no, you would have done it better. When they're not doing good, he said, no, you are not doing it good. You ought to have done it good. When they go to better, you say best. When they go to best, you say your best is not good enough. No, that is it. You have to keep improving.
That's very interesting. So you have to be on their
You have to keep improving. Because on the day you stop growing, you start going down.
So when the government gets it perfectly well, what should the opposition do?
The best is not good enough. Or they will relax. That is it.
That would be like, let's bring down the roof on everybody.
No. That is beautiful. When a man has the impression he has done all, the next thing is to sleep. A man ought to continue improving. And by nature, once you stop growing, you can't stand still. You start going down. So the nature, have you ever seen opposition? Do you know? Okay, let me give you an example. Barack Obama went to New Jersey when they had a hurricane that destroyed New Jersey. And it was Governor Chris Christie that was the governor then. And he was of the Republican. Well, Barack Obama did very good things to them. And he was praising Barack Obama. And the election was close. Barack Obama did a very good thing. Because of that praise, he fell out with his party. Until today, he has not recovered. Because the duty of the opposition is to keep the ruling party on its toes. He would have just said, oh, Mr. President, thank you very much, but this is not good enough. You know, just to make him to have a room to do more. But look at what is happening. A member of Labour Party, who is a member of the House of Reps, when he came in, when he attended the first meeting with the president, he came out and was more loquacious than even people of APC, praising what the president did. Hey, president, hey. And he'd be wondering, does this man even know what he is there for?
His argument, I recall, was that when elections are over, there's always a need to rally behind the president. I've raised it before.
I'm just hearing that the first time.
Would there never be a time when partisanship should stop?
Then stop partisan politics. If you want it to stop, then let's go for one party system. You are in partisan politics. You just call it partisan. And then you say you should stop. You want to go into a president who raised the price of fuel from 190 something to 600 and from the first day he's in office without making adequate arrangements, and you're saying he's doing well?
So in as much as we agree that democracy is more of a process than the outcome, you insist opposition must also be a process continuously running alongside democracy.
Exactly. For the sake of the people. I did not join politics to pander to the will of a political party or a politician, but to the will of the Nigerian people, who by now they are expecting their nation to be a superpower nation.
But you're a member of the Labour Party.
Yes, I am.
So are you indicting your own political parties that is not doing it?
It is not even the party that is the issue, but the elected members. Recall that the party, Labour Party, came out publicly to disassociate themselves from the illicit and corrupt 165 million naira, whether it's bulletproof or
it's not bulletproof.
I don't know what it is. 165 million naira for each member of the National Assembly. Labour Party said, no, this is corrupt. We don't need this thing now. Not one member of the elected persons of the Labour Party in the National Assembly rejected that or even vehemently condemned that in the House. So it's not even about party. But let me tell you,
Does it not
Labour
suggest
Party
that? Okay.
should not be exonerated completely.
Yes, because they should
You
have
should
a
have a
hold on
means
it.
to
They are the ones that sold the
bring
application
yes,
from. Where
you should have a means to discipline your members, or else you risk anarchy and you risk being irrelevant. That is what is happening to PDP. In 2015, recall that 7 governors with Atiku Abubakar.
Is it 5 of them or so?
No, 2 later on came back. 7 walked out on the president. 2 came back.
They go swear.
Good. 2 came back. 5 left. Even out of that 2, 1 confessed that he worked for the opposition against his own party in the presidential election. They collapsed PDP. PDP failed. Do you know that the party did not discipline them for that? You know what the party did? The party upgraded them, promoted them. And by 2019, the same set of people took over the party. That was what gave impetus to the 5 governors in 2023 to walk out. Any indiscipline that you do not punish will repeat itself this time around in a more grandiose style. You know why? Law, jurisprudentially, without sword, is mere words. When you punish people, it is not because the government has the interest in inflicting injuries on its citizens, but for deterrence. Now, PDP accommodated in discipline, and they are reaping from it. 5 governors walked out on them in 2024.
Well, what would they have done? Because
and you know what?
They walked out
nothing.
And left the party. So
which people? They did not leave
what
the
would
party.
have?
The 5 governors that walked out in 2023 did not leave the party. I said it has graduated. The 5 governors in 2015.
No, I mean in 2015. That's
what I'm saying.
I'm referring to 2015.
Yes, they were not disciplined before they
2023,
left.
they
formed
didn't
new
do
PDP in 2015. It was when the courts did not agree with them that they could hijack PDP that they left. But in 2023, they did not even care to leave. They stayed.
Perhaps the party opted to use other means of consultation, negotiation.
No. The party has sown a seed of indiscipline.
Okay.